just a summary of what I'll be using. I have my scale, my glassware. Okay, this is my arrowroot powder. This is my palm kernel oil. It's solidified because this is rainy season. The weather is a bit cold. This is my coconut oil. Okay, this is my fragrance oil. This is my honey. I put it in this clean syrup container. My honey is here. This is my essential oil, lemon essential oil. This is a preservative. I will not use preservative because this is an anhydrous product, but still, let me just keep it aside. This is my almond oil. I'll be adding it in as part of my liquid oil. This is my glycerin. Okay, then this is my castor oil. This is my lanolin. I'll be using a little bit of lanolin also. Out of this 80% and 90% shea butter, one part I'll be using my liquid oils and my solid oils together with my essential oils. Then in another part, I'll be using my degreaser, that is my arrowroot powder, my stearic acid, and my cetyl alcohol in both of the two portions. So I'll be making 4 different types to see the one that suits me more. In one of the first 2 batch, I'll be making 80% and 90%. The second batch will still be the same 80% and 90%, but with arrowroot powder, stearic acid, and cetyl alcohol in both of the two. I will not pick the one that I like the consistency most. So I'm going to do my experiment now. So I will start by measuring my shea butter, depending on whether 80% or 90% of my shea butter. It also depends on what you want. You want to make a final volume of 500 grams, you calculate your 80 and your 90%. You want to make a final volume of 100 grams, you calculate your 80 and 90%, depending on your final volume that you're working with. So I'll be fetching my shea butter now based on 80 and 90%. Okay. So I finished measuring my shea butter. Okay. I gave them numbers. I gave each of them numbers. This is plate number 1. This corresponds to my recipe that I've already written out. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I'll be following my recipe. Okay. So now let me start with 1. Measurement for 1. So right now I'll be adding my glycerin. I'll put in my glycerin. So next I'll be putting in my honey. Please don't ask me for a recipe because I'm experimenting and probably it might be used commercially. So I don't want to, that's just one of the main reasons. And also somebody paid me to do this for the person. So to be fair to the person, I can't give out the recipe. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. So I'm putting in my honey now. Everything has been pre-measured and calculated. Everything has been calculated. So I'm just following my measurements strictly now. Good. Next, I'll be putting in my coconut oil. My coconut oil in. Palm kernel oil. The palm kernel oil is still in solid form. That's my palm kernel oil. Then I'll be putting in my almond oil. My almond oil. Then I'll be putting in my perfume. and also my essential oil too. I'll be putting in my essential oil. So this is my lemon essential oil. This is expensive type. This is about 2005. It's not those ones that they sell 500 and all that. No. This is a good essential oil. This lemon essential oil, and I'll be putting in my essential oil too. So I'm done with part 1. I'll keep it for stick blending. Okay, so now I'll go to the 90% shea butter. I'll repeat the same ingredients that I put in here. The only difference is that other one is 80% shea butter. This is 90% shea butter. That's the only difference. So I'll repeat the ingredients, then come back to you. So I've measured out the one for this is one for 80%. You see, it has more oils in it. This one for 90%. It has less oils in it. That's just the difference between the two. But the ingredients are the same. 80%, 90%. So I'll go on now and start measuring the one that have lanolin, have cetyl alcohol, and have my arrowroot powder in a moment. Come back. So I'll be measuring the ingredients for the one that will have stearic acid, cetyl alcohol, arrowroot powder, and lanolin. Okay. So this is this is 80. This is the one for 80%. Okay, this measurement is for 80%. So honey is still part of this. Honey is still part of this recipe. Next is my glycerin. Next is my coconut oil. My coconut oil. Then my PKO. Almond oil. Then next my arrowroot powder. My perfume and essential oil. So now my essential oil. You can decide to use essential oil only without mixing it with perfume. Then I'll also be putting in my lanolin. I'll now be measuring my cetyl alcohol and stearic acid. Because this is an experiment, I'm making small batches. The one that favors me is the one that I will eventually use. So that's it. Okay. So these are the ingredients. That's how I measured for the part 2. So the same ingredients also I've been measuring for my 4th ball. Okay. The only difference will be that the shea butter calculation is 80% and the shea butter calculation for the second one is 90%, just as in the first batch. So I measured the 90%. I'll do the measurements for the 90%, then get back to you. This first batch 80%, first batch 90%, second batch 80%, second batch 80%. This is my stearic acid and cetyl alcohol all behind. If you notice, there is a way you can do this. You can either melt your oils, stick blend them, melt your oils, freeze them, stick blend, then add in your essential oils. Or you can do it this way, where you add everything and stick blend, and that's the method I prefer. The only difference is that I'll have to melt my cetyl alcohol and stearic acid first, and then add it into this, and then stick blend all together. So I'll stick blend each of them separately, then come back, and then we'll see if there is any difference, tangible difference between the two of them. Meanwhile, this smells nice. The essential oil and the fragrance makes it smell heavenly. I pray the texture also will be very buttery. I'm back and I've stick blended all my samples, the experiments I made. This is the first one. This one has 80% shea butter, and the remaining are those other ingredients you saw, my oils, my honey, my glycerin, and all that. You can see this is the second one. It has 90% shea butter with those same ingredients. You can see it's not as runny as the first one. You see, even by shaking, you can see the first one moves more. So the 90% is thicker. Then this is the second one. This 80% with stearic acid and lanolin. You can see it's a bit runny too, but not that much. Then this 90% with stearic acid and lanolin. It too is thick. It's not shaking as much as this one. Okay. So then now I'm going to test them. Disappears. Oh, maybe you didn't see. Let me try it again. This is the first one. Let me put it on my skin. You see? Rub, rub, rub. Disappears. Light. Then the second one. Rub, rub, rub. It disappears too. But it's a bit thick. It doesn't absorb as easily as, let me stand up. It doesn't absorb as easily as the first one. You can see, I don't know if you can see, but where I rubbed it in, it's still leaving a light trace on my arm. But this one disappeared completely. Okay, that's for this first two. Then this other two now, let me test this one with stearic acid. This one is light too, but it doesn't disappear as fast as this first one, and it leaves marks. I can actually see the marks of my fingerprints on top of it as I'm rubbing. Okay, but it's also light and fluffy. Then the last one, 90% with stearic acid. You can see it. This one, you see, it takes time for it to disappear, but eventually it does. Okay, so these are the different experiments I made. It depends on you, whatever you want. Do you want it light and fluffy? Do you want it light, a little bit thick? Do you want it light, easily absorbent and fluffy? Do you want it light but a little bit thicker? Do you want it light with extra hold? Do you want it light, super thick, and more protective on the skin? It depends on the one you want. Okay, so this is my experiment that I've made. It depends on you. Now, if at least from this now, you've known what it looks like. So you can decide which one you want. You can decide to make 80% shea butter with your oils. You can decide to make 90% shea butter with your oils. You can decide to do it with stearic acid and lanolin. You can decide to leave it like that. Then about the texture, you can see this one. Are you seeing it? You see? It's a bit droppy. And it leaves a bit of a trace. Let me try this one. This one is not that droppy. It doesn't leave a string like the first one. It doesn't leave that much of a string, but it also has a trace. Then this is the third one, the one with, sorry, this is the third one, the one with stearic acid and lanolin. You see, perhaps because of the lanolin, it's dragging a bit, okay, but it also has a trace to it. Then this is the other one, the 90%. It also has a string to it and a drag to it. The only difference is that it is thicker. What I would say is that they are basically almost the same thing. And mind you, you can adjust the quantity of stearic acid to give it hardness depending on the way you want, okay? Depending on what you want. But at least for this stearic acid, I can tell you that I used 1% stearic acid in both of them. You could decide to use 2% stearic acid or 3% stearic acid depending on your needs. Okay, if you want it super light and absorptive, the one that is light on the skin, 80% will do. If you want it light but one that will stay more and act more as a moisturizer and a barrier, the 90% will do. All depends on you. Okay, then so I'm going to experiment more, but meanwhile, before I go ahead and do that, I will still leave these oils overnight. You know, this has been exposed to heat. It has been exposed to, it has stayed for some time. So maybe if I should leave this for some time, you know, definitely the air that was put in by stick blending is what made it cream. So definitely the air will go out and the natural color of the shea butter will come back. That is the golden color will come back. Then I'll see how it behaves, because even the stick blending alone makes it generate heat and make it light. So let me leave it for about a day or so. Let me see how it behaves. I'll come back to you. I want to show you how they look after 48 hours. Okay, so this is plate number 1, 80%. You see, this is how it looks. This is plate number 2, 90%. This is how it looks. See, it's harder. This one is 80% without stearic acid. This is 90% without stearic acid. Then this one is 80% with stearic acid. It's a bit hard but still soft. Then this is 90% with stearic acid. It's a bit hard too, okay, but not as soft. Okay, so you can actually increase your, as I said earlier, you can increase your stearic acid level between 1% to even 20% if you so wish, but 20% is a bit on the extreme. At least between 1 to 10%, although depending on what you desire to make. Okay, so I think I'm through with this experiment. Even though personally I'm still not satisfied, I will still go further and do more, but at least this might help somebody. Okay, thanks for watching my video. God bless you. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.